How the heretics! I forgot to add myself to the to the live stream. So I don't know if you can hear me. If anyone watching, normally there's a bunch of messages down here. So I just keep on talking until someone calls in because we have the number of Jehovah Witnesses are going down, while the number of anointed is going up. And when I grew up with Jehovah Witness, they always say that the number of anointed should go down, go down, go down until they're gone, or there will be a rapture. You're not allowed to call it rapture, but there will be a rapture. Oh, someone heard me. So, so there will be a rapture and then Armageddon. So they always say, how do we know that we're living in the last days? Well, the number of anointed is going down. And how do we know that we are God's one true religion? Well, the number of Jehovah Witnesses is going up. It's a weird logic because there are more Catholics than Jehovah Witnesses. And back in the day when Jesus supposedly picked Jehovah Witnesses as God's one true religion, there was 1 billion Catholics, and now there's 2 billion Catholics. So just using the number as a logic that we're God's one true religion doesn't make any sense. But I asked someone to use a calculator and do the math because there should be a number now, not so many few years in the future, when there's actually more anointed than Jehovah Witnesses. Because if the number of Jehovah Witnesses going down, hello, Ephraim, and they not go up, there must be none. So please call in if there's a nerdy apostate with a computer. So I have a link here, and anyone that used that link can come here, and you should have a pretty decent internet connection and not too much noise in the background. And if you do hate speech, I will cut you off. But other than that, everyone is in a good mood and sober. Please call in. So we had I've been working all week with apostasy. So big thanks to my worldly woman that support me because she never signed up for this, but she's a really nice person. So, and what happened in Norway was now that the police made a raid on a kingdom hall. And the reason why they did that was that there was a sister, a Jehovah Witness female, that spoke to the elders about her husband allegedly being violent against her and raped her, which obviously is a crime in Scandinavia. But I know in some countries it's not a crime to rape your wife, but it's a crime in Scandinavia. And so she spoke with the elders, and the elders allegedly said that, kind of what witnesses normally say. Well, you should go home, you should trust in Jehovah, you should be nice to your husband, be extra nice to your husband, and he should repent. And then she went, reported him to the police, and the police wanted to talk to the elders. They raided the archive and interrogated 2 elders, and the elders refused to answer. And Watchtower do damage control, and they write letter to the government and say, well, our elders are priests. They say that they have, they must keep confidentiality, and over refer to the elders as priests. And they say we don't protect criminals, and so on. So I've been working. I would go so far to say that Watchtower is lying because they're kind of showing some other stuff than they mispresenting reality, I would say that. So I checked up what the laws say in Norway. So the law is that a priest or a person in charge of a registered religion cannot give away information he got. He will get a fine and up to 6 months in jail if he violates the trust of something. So Watchtower is right about that. But then there's another paragraph called 139 that says you will go 1 year to jail if you don't prevent a crime from happening. And that includes me. Like every person in Norway, citizen or not, you have to prevent crimes. And you can get 1 year in jail if you don't do that. And then there's a list of crimes. And this includes, well, obviously everything that have to do with the military. You have to report to terror activities and stuff like that. But when it comes to, I can find it here. When it comes that you have knowledge that there most likely will happen a sexual crime against a child under 14 years old, or someone under 16 years old, or someone that's under someone's care, if you're a caretaker of someone, and also rape in general. So when this lady went to the to the elders and spoke about allegations that her husband raped her, well, then they had knowledge that this would happen. And according to the law, I've been reading the law all weekend, writing, you're not obligated to call the police. It just say you're obligated to prevent it from happening. So I've been reading more. What does this mean, prevent it from happening? Well, the most common thing, it's actually okay to move a person away from the situation, but not just move a priest like the Catholics are accused of, just moving to a different congregation, like moving away from the victim and other potential victims. That's okay. So you don't have to call the police, but it also states in most cases that calling the police would be the most appropriate, but it's not a duty. So Watchtower tried to say that, well, the paragraph 144 says that we have to keep confidentiality, not telling anyone, without thinking so much that another law say that you have to do it. Everyone has to do it. Even if if your information is confidential, you have to prevent a crime, not report it to the police, but prevent a crime. So if a woman is raped, and this is an ongoing situation, to send her home would be a violation of that law, if the allegations are true. But now is the interesting part that I'm writing, because Watchtower over and over claimed that when we receive information, it's confidential and we cannot tell anyone. Well, that's a catch-22 situation I'm working with, because if they claim that we're allowed to keep this secret from the authorities because we're a priest, well, then they violate the law. If you read, and if you have any tips now how to document this, please help me, because I'm working very, very hard with this, and it's always good to have documentation. I'm not really a nerdy person, but I want to find all the places. Like if you're a young boy, I used to be a young boy, and I used to masturbate, and I used to hate myself for that. I used even to contemplate suicide over masturbation. I was a Jehovah's Witness. And the literature said you should talk to someone you could confide in. You should maybe talk to one of the elders. So if I spoke to one of the elders and I admitted masturbation and admitted to watch pornography, they would ask, do you watch gross pornography like gay sex? Okay, I didn't do that, but what if I wouldn't? Then that elder would tell the other elders, he would tell the circuit overseer, they would make written reports, it would go to the service desk, and if anyone in the governing body wanted to read this report, no one would refuse him. So what I'm writing now to the government is that if Watchtower really mean that these elders are priests, and it would be a crime for them to tell someone what happened during these conversations, well, then I'll press for charges. It's punishable with 6 months in jail. Because, so I don't know what happened, but when I told as a kid an elder in confidence about my masturbation, if that elder followed the directions, written direction from Watchtower, there might be a note about it that all elders could read. And if you think about the sexual repression among Jehovah, I believe that most Jehovah's Witnesses are nice people, but not all of them, obviously. And imagine now that a person on Bethel had a thing for young girls. That's not totally impossible. And there's no porn on Bethel. They have this firewall. And he's working at this service, that kind of department. He can actually read transcripts and interviews with young girls about their masturbation as porn. So how can Watchtower claim that we are priests and we have the duty to keep the confidentiality when they don't keep the confidentiality? So they just put themselves in a catch-22, and I'm going to use that against them. So I'm going to press for a charge unless I misunderstood anything really. I have to double check. So thanks to my patrons for supporting me, because this takes a lot of time from my real work. So no one's calling in. Don't you love me anymore? Let's see. Worldly women are the best. I haven't tried everyone. G'day, mate. Good evening, Ephraim. I know a female, Ephraim writes, I know a female that was raped by her JW husband under the recommendation of the elders. That's not good. They need to be open and honest and have faith that Jehovah will save them. Yeah, that's true. So, goat-like personality, you should just send these videos you make to relevant persons. Yeah, kind of, that's what I'm doing. But I also have a window cleaning empire and a goat and more goats and parasites created by Jehovah and I'm working with, and a wife. And she's very understanding. She actually, this is a Saturday. I'm supposed to hug and squeeze her, but I'm talking her with you. So she's very nice. Heteran say, can't get my headphones to work, lol. That's not lol. LOL, that's, yeah. So, I don't hate the witnesses. I actually I believe many of them are nice people. So if you think now like an elder within the system, that you get someone admitting a crime, allegedly, this brother that admitted, allegedly, to being violent against his wife and rape. And he repented and he was kept a brother in good standing. So I actually asked the elders about this earlier. Why? Because they say, we can only see if someone's repentive or not. If he's repentive, he will not be disfellowshipped and we cannot call the police. Well, if that's the case, within the Jehovah Witness doctrine, the bubble, there's always a, thinking inside the box. They have a box. So let's do the thinking for them inside the box. Inside this box, there is something called that you should respect the government. You should be known for your being cooperative with the government and all these good things. There's also inside the Watchtower box that a person that commits a sin and is repentant should do works. He should show actions that he actually repented. So if you put all this together, it would not be unreasonable to talk to this brother and say, well, if you committed a crime, and in Norway, the government, in Scandinavian countries, the government is very reasonable when it comes to punishing crime. They actually try to help you. So it's quite common in Scandinavia that people report themselves to the police. If you've done something you really, really, really regret, and you realize that, and you understand my victim need closure, they will quite often report themselves to the police. And the police will investigate it. And it was a cult in Sweden that was involved in a lot of stuff. And some of the leaders woke up and realized that they were in a cult, and they reported themselves to the police. And they were convicted and had to pay a fine. Normally, when you report yourself to the police, you get a much lower sentence. That's actually a common thing in Scandinavia. And I guess Raymond Franz, if he were Norwegian, living in Norway, there's a chance that he would actually report himself to the police. And there would be an investigation. So I'm just thinking, please call in. It's boring to be sitting here alone. Then I can go out to sit with my wife instead. So, but let me know what you think. Within the Watchtower box, the elders are not obligated to call the police, but they're obligated to do something. So sending the woman back to the man is not doing something. Inviting her to live with them for a weekend while they went for marriage counseling, that would be something. Or telling this guy that repents that one way of showing repentance is that you actually want to seek help and you will admit this to the authorities and so on. That would be reasonable, and it would actually bring glory to Jehovah's name. What do you think? Let me know. Marcia Lambert writes, Kim and Mikey had a video last week about government people wanting all that have had abuse to come forward. Not sure if I'm wording that correctly. Have a question. Did anyone experience demonic attacks while studying or leaving the JW? No. It's all in your head. Hey everyone, praise God for you who survived the JW cult. Yeah, but who created the cult on the other hand? It seems like the only people that are kept in the dark are the lowly publishers, elders, and above are clergy and above the law. Yeah. And then someone called Lisa for Truth. Goat-like, I'd like to interview for my channel. Well, you can call in to me. And then someone said, is it Jonas or Jonah? Well, actually, that's the same name. It's the guy from the Bible. But my parents called me Per Jonas, so I go by my middle name. That's actually fun when you're a Jehovah's Witness, because my real name is Per Jonas. So in the French, when you're preaching in French and you call yourself Per Jonas, it means father in French. So get some extra credit there. Demons aren't real. No, they're not really. Mr. Fish. So I'm giving you a link here. You can call in with anything. It's kind of boring to be sitting here all alone. So now, tell me what you think. Is it a good idea for me to call press for charges? I don't know what happened, but according to the elders book, Watchtower and the elders that I've spoken with must have violated this code of conduct in my case, because I was in the judicial committee once and admitted squeezing my wife's one of the boobs, and they took notes and sent that to other people. Or they spoke to the body of elders in the local congregation without my permission. So I think I discovered a good catch-22 here. Göran Jonsson, hello from Sweden. Ja, men du kan ringa in, Göran. And then, hey, Goat-like, I love your channel. Who is your favorite governing body member, and who is your least favorite? Least favorite would be Anthony Morris. He's condescending, and I don't like him. He talk about worldly people like burning hot dogs and stuff like that, and go the extra mile to be homophobic. I don't like him at all. And what to call the guy, Stephen Lett, because we went I was protesting in the outside the convention in Copenhagen. And Stephen Lett, I'm good at talking to the witnesses because I'm nice. I'm nice to them. I think most of them are nice people. So talking to the witnesses, and we asked, can we go in and we'll listen to Stephen Lett? And we were allowed to go in, and we were very respectful. So we started listening to Stephen Lett, standing in the back, all the apostates. And he said, it's important for us to teach our children not to love themselves. They should not love themselves. And they do this cult thing where you're supposed to feel bad about yourself. If you disagree with me, it's pride. Come from Satan. If you feel good about yourself, it's pride. You're like Satan. The real reason why you can't celebrate birthdays is being in literature. You know, a child should not learn to think good about yourself. Stephen Lett talks a lot about that, so I don't like Stephen Lett. He would be the second worst. Then my favorite would actually be David Splane. You know, with all the crazy Bible thing in the stick and the overlapping generation and stuff like that, because I actually believe he believes it. As soon as he gets his Bible and he can read and the number, and it's all crazy and doesn't make any sense, but he believes in it, which makes him honest and deluded, kind of like Russell. Russell was a crazy person. So David Splain would probably be my favorite. So no one's calling. Well, someone called in, but it didn't work. I studied with, this is interesting. I studied with Swedish Gilead missionaries. They were lovely people, both of them. But now that I know about the blue envelope and the missionary was on the branch committee, I don't know. I sense to determine whether or not someone is a good person is not all that great. So please tell me what Swedish person you went to, you studied with, because Sweden is the country in the world in the Jehovah Witness fantasy. I'm Swedish. I live in Norway, but I'm a Swedish national. And Sweden is the country that has sent out most missionaries per capita. And then comes Finland and Germany. And if you know anything about the Swedish, German, and Finnish mentality, is that they are very well organized. The opposite of Norway. Norway have almost not sent any missionaries, and missionaries that be sent out from Norway is normally sent back to Norway because they are kind of crazy. So, add to stream Lisa for Truth with no microphone. So please call in if anyone know about if anyone done the mathematics with the anointed. What year will there be more anointed than great crowd? Lisa for the Truth have hello.
Hi, Jonas. Is it Jonas or Jonas?
Jonas, whatever you like.
Well, I know the Scandinavian languages are different than English.
Jonas.
So I just wanted to get your name right.
Yeah. So tell us your story.
How's it going?
It's going fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, tell us your story.
Well, I was not a JW. I did study with them for a while. And to tell you the honest truth, I kicked them out when they insulted my cat, which I know is like a really, really horrible reason to kick somebody out of your house. But you don't mess with my cats, man.
Well, yeah. Well, how did they insult your cat?
They said she just loved me because I fed her, and I'm like, no. You need to leave now.
Well,
and they never came back.
Well, yeah. Well, it sounds like they identify themselves with Satan in heaven.
Also, I was part of a cult. I grew up in a cult. It was the Independent Fundamentalist Baptist.
Okay.
And my parents finally decided they had enough of it and went to the Southern Baptists, which I have to say was a little bit better, but not by much. At least in the Southern Baptist, women could wear swimsuits, whereas in the Independent Fundamentalist Baptists, you pretty much had to swim with your clothes on if you wanted to swim at all.
Okay, so what do the Independent Baptist, what do you call it? Can you repeat the name?
Independent Fundamentalist Baptist Church.
They refer to themselves as fundamentalists.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's the if you know Stephen, what's his face, the one with the beard, Stephen Anderson. If you're familiar with him, he spun off of the Independent Fundamentalist Baptist Church.
Okay, no, I never heard of it.
Okay. So anyway, and then I decided I didn't really. I was like a Christian, but not really, you know. And I decided to look into different religions. Like I read up on Scientology. Did not join, by the way, but I read up on it, and I read up on Wicca, and I was Wiccan for 2 years, and then I went and joined the Mormons, and technically I'm still Mormon, but I don't go anymore, and I don't really see a reason to disassociate myself from the Mormon Church, so I'm probably not going to do that. Now, disassociating from the Mormon Church is not like disassociating from the JWs. They're not going to shun me or anything like that. It's just like you don't want to be part of them anymore. So, you just put in your letter and stuff like that. They're not going to, if they see you out on the street, they're not going to make a point to cross the street to avoid you,
Yeah, they do soft shunning.
What?
They do soft shunning, the Mormons, so they will still talk to you, but you're a little like what we call bad association.
Gotcha. So yeah, so that's kind of like my life in a nutshell. I did go to college, and I found out through my studies in archaeology that that I had been lied to my whole life, that the earth is not young, and I was really, really mad about that, and I'm still mad about it now. In fact, I think the young earthers, I think they shoot themselves in the foot by insisting on a young earth when the Bible doesn't even say that the earth is young, and so yeah, I mean, people get really mad when they find out they were lied to about that crap. And now I'm an atheist, so go figure.
Yeah, it's fun you mentioned both Mormons and archaeology, because okay, so there's a lot of weird stuff that happened in the Middle East for thousands and thousands of years, and I unrolled that. But like the Mormon story about, they came to, I think it was Virginia, the Israelites that came with these weird boats, and they started making things of brass and gold and steel, and they build a temple. You can't find a temple, you can't find the mines, you can't find. There were battles with millions of people, and nothing. Everything is gone. So I guess you started study archaeology after you joined the Mormon religion.
No, actually, I just my major was psychology, and I needed a minor, and I was into my psychology studies by then, and so I just needed kind of like an easy minor, one that I could take a lot of classes that I didn't have to have a whole lot of prerequisites in. So I chose anthropology, and my favorite subcategory quickly became archaeology. So, you know, and then of course you've got biological anthropology, which talks about Homo erectus and Homo habilis and the Homo neanderthalensis and all of that.
Yeah.
and who knows how many other cousins the humans have out there that we haven't discovered yet. But at any rate, but yeah, it was interesting.
But just to be clear, you studied archaeology before you became a Mormon. How is that even possible? Because I'm here in Scandinavia, I'm technically native, and we've been finding steel and stuff like that for thousands of years. So we can find everywhere in nature, you find an old mine that dates back from basically the Stone Age. And it's really easy to find it in the landscape. You have this pile of a slag heap. And so if that would have been in the United States of America, because those Nephites and Lamanites were doing that, it would be obvious. And I spoke to Mormons about this, and they say, well, they discovered silver mines in the Amazons. Well, that's not a brass thing in Virginia. It's just a smokescreen in best case scenario. Did you study archaeology before becoming a Mormon?
No, this was after. Yeah. Yeah, this is after. I became Mormon in 2002, I believe, and I didn't start studying archaeology until 2010. So yeah, I didn't study archaeology until after I became a Mormon. But actually, the Mormons think that the Nephites actually set foot in the Latin to South Americas and not North America.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen different maps they have.
Yeah. And not that this has anything to do with Mormons or anything, but because you are Scandinavian, Jonas, I thought maybe you would like to know this. There is a Viking village in Canada.
Yep.
That predates Columbus.
Yep.
Like by 1,000 years.
Yep.
So I thought you might like to know that if you didn't already.
No, we always know this. I can give you a short history. So we always used to have civil war in Norway, because all the king's sons got to be king. So as soon as one king was dead, all of his kids started fighting. So people moved away out into the sea to Iceland. So there was not Viking, there were farmers just trying to get away from refugees, basically. So if someone asked you, where do you live? Iceland? Is it a nice place? No, that's why you called Iceland. Please stay away from here. So it was called Iceland to scare people away. But then someone went to another place and found, oh, this was this nice place with basically no inhabitants, because the Eskimos and the Norsemen came basically the same time. So it was empty then. But he wanted to be king, and then you need people. So he called it Greenland to get people to come there. And then they went further and called it Wineland. Why would you call something Wineland? Well, because you want people to go there. And if you want people to go there, you will tell them how to go there. So there had been written evidence, abundance of written evidence in Scandinavia how to go to America for thousands of years. It was not a secret. That's why they called it Wineland. And one person that read about this was Columbus. So he's not seen as the discoverer of anything in Scandinavian history, but the Catholics split, South America between them. The Pope decided this goes to Portugal, this goes to Spain, and everyone's going to be Catholic. So obviously in their history, in that narrative, they need a Catholic to discover it. But we actually have settlements in Canada all the way up through history from the Viking age until, well, obviously until now, but all the time.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So maybe the archaeologists knew to dig in Canada because of your records.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but Canada is not my forte in archaeology. I actually know more about Egypt than anything in archaeology. But at any rate, but that's cool. You know.
Yeah, I can tell you. I'm going to mute you and tell you because it's on. So what happened first? The Norsemen went to call it Wineland to attract people, but at that point there were more Native Americans than there were Europeans. So there was really no reason why to have a settlement in the United States of America or Canada, or what you call it. And so they went back, but they didn't leave the trading posts. So up through Middle Ages, there have been Norse trading posts run by Danes and Norwegians in Canada. And if you look at a narwhal horn, looks like that. And the idea of unicorn, they have a narwhal horn. And that was basically Norwegians that went to America, bought narwhal horn from the natives, went down to Italy and sold it expensive as unicorn horn. That's why the unicorn, traditional unicorn, always have a narwhal horn as a face. So there have been white settlements in Canada but these were kept secret, because if you have a good trading situation, especially if you're running a unicorn scam, you will not tell anyone. But we've been there all the time. So that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Anyway, I'll let Heather Rance get in.
Okay. So thank you for calling up.
Thank you.
So Heather, what do you think? Am I wrong about Watchtower going to jail for violating the confidentiality?
I think in your country it would actually work. In the United States, the data protection is basically any data they collect, they own. I looked into this. But in your country, it would be a lot easier, and I think it's doable. I mean, you don't talk to these people with the intent that anybody they happen to work with is going to know about it. Why would they need to know about it if it's just it's not something the entire team needs to help you with? There's no reason for them to do that. Like, even in a medical setting, if you were to meet with a specialist, they're not going to just share your information with other specialists to find out what they think. Like, if you need surgery on like your tooth, they're not going to go show it to the brain surgeon. You know what I mean? Like, it's against the rules.
Yeah. I don't know how it is with doctors. I think they have to ask when you send it to someone else and show it to someone else, but that's just a formality. Everyone say you. But
even in a doctor setting, your data is yours to choose who it goes to, and they've labeled themselves spiritual doctors in other suits. I think they tried to claim HIPAA in one of the lawsuits, which HIPAA is more about insurance and not necessarily data protection. Like, you can't just go and share the information everywhere. There's no point to it. I think you've got.
Yeah, well, now we're not talking about the data, the information. We're talking about the confidentiality, because the police come there and say, we want to interrogate you. And allegedly the elders said that we have nothing to tell because it's confidential. So if they do that, they go and claim that Jehovah Witness elders, everything you say to Jehovah Witness elders is confidential. And I find all this propaganda that's written to children. Children are protected like by common sense, but also that's what the police work with. And so when you have all this propaganda that say, if you masturbate, you're a terrible person that deserves to die, because that's what Jehovah Witnesses believe and what we thought. and they feed you with all this crazy stuff that if your hand causes you to sin, you should cut it off. And they really pressure you. I was literally thinking about suicide because of masturbation. And this over and over say you should you should tell someone in confidence, maybe an elder. And they tell this to children, and then they might tell it. Well, first they will break my confidence when they tell the other elders. But it also, they make the child vulnerable, because if they interrogate the child, or like, what kind of pornography do you look at? And he say, well, I am into this, this, and this. And this paper is handed over to someone, and he can read. And if he is a predator, he can specifically target someone. Or someone can, or a nice elder that's not a predator can be blackmailed by a predator to hand him the information. As a Jehovah's Witness kid, I was praying to God that there would come some brother from Bethel visiting our congregation and take contact with me, and I could talk with him about my masturbation. I was pre-groomed. And
it's really kind of creepy that they want you like pre-groomed to go and talk to somebody about it. Like, it's a little it's a little disconcerting that they want children to talk to somebody who's not their parent about I guess sexualized behavior.
Yeah, it's like, I'm going to make a video about this later, but basically one of the problem, because you can find abusers everywhere, witnesses are right about that, and I don't think, but the problem is with Jehovah's Witness kids, you're pre-groomed. Like, I remember we were always taught that you can trust Jehovah's Witnesses 100%. You cannot trust worldly people.
And now
the police wanted to kill us. The police wanted to kill us. So obviously, you will not go to the police if you're a victim of a crime, because they would kill you. And also you're groomed to talk about grown-ups about sex. We had Watchtower studies about anal sex and stuff like that. And I remember we had like extra family study to explain this to the children. What is anal sex? What is normal sex, and why Jehovah hated? And you're supposed to be able to. I remember my mother said, you're supposed to, if a worldly person asks you what is this and why it's wrong, you have to be able to explain it. And then I would go alone from door to door trying to sell this book, Happy Family Life, which includes all these rules about what's allowed in anal sex and stuff like that, to strangers. Knock at a neighbor, stranger's door, and you don't know who that is, and he can look through. Oh, God likes anal sex. What's that? And I was supposed to explain to grown up about that.
Yeah, it's I don't like that they use the excuse that you have to have children prepared for like the real world. That there is a.
That's nothing to do with the real world.
There's something with the proper age limit. Well, that's the excuse that the Watchtower uses, is that you have to, like, when they tell them all about these crazy Armageddon stories, and this is terrifying, but they don't see that as a wrong thing to talk to these kids about it and to groom them to expect terrible things for other people, and they groom them to expect worldly people to want to like molest them and give them lots of details, but then they also want them to go and sell these books detailing all this. Like, it's all just very.
Yeah, I remember my father said that all worldly people were pedophiles.
I'm surprised how many orgies don't exist, because they like to use orgies in their examples. I've never once seen an orgy personally. I don't know about the rest of y'all out there.
No,
it's in my
remember he said that why do they say they only put pedophiles in jail to pretend that they have as high moral as Jehovah's Witnesses. So they just put them in jail as a show, and then they let them out in the back door. That's what.
Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, but then witnesses you could trust. But I was sent in. I told you before, and I'm going to write this into the government, and because they talk about the elder, like priests. First, I write in the letter to the government that if a Jehovah's Witness refer to himself as priest, he will be disfellowshipped. They're not priests. And I say, in my years as a Jehovah's Witness, I never ever heard them being referred to as priests, but often referred to as the police. Jokingly or humorously, but sometimes you would refer to. I remember in the pioneer school, one of the things we learned was how to deal with police elders. Was the expression? That was like one chapter, one lesson, how to deal with police elders. So never priest elders. So they kind of claim secular authority. So they can interrogate someone, hear about these crimes that they have mandatory, not mandatory reporting, but mandatory duty to action. Everyone has. I have. If you come to Norway and you see a murder in progress, you have to do something.
Right. Yeah. Well, they have that recent news article where this 89-year-old dude stabbed his wife to death.
Huh?
They have this recent news article that this 89-year-old dude, and I believe it was in the UK, stabbed his wife to death. And he had told the elders that he had planned to do it. Literally told them. They did nothing.
Well, yeah, well, that would obviously be a crime in Norway for the elders or anyone. Well,
now the UK wants to look at them for not just safeguarding of children, but now they want them to look at safeguarding of vulnerable adults. So there's that. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, they definitely, they groom you to go to them about everything. And now your information isn't just with that one person. So if somebody is a predator, like you said, you're exposed to a lot of potential predators that know that this stuff is being hidden.
Yeah, because what will a groomer do? He will make you trust him, and then he will kind of undermine your self-esteem while building up so there gets more I trust this guy. Where is it? That much, and my self-esteem go this. And
literally that's part of the Elder's Handbook.
Yeah, and when you're Jehovah's Witness, you hate yourself for masturbation, and you're told to confide in Jehovah's Witnesses. And I was literally praying to God that someone would come from Bethel that would show me personal interest, so I would feel confident to talk to him about my penis.
Yeah,
that is, you're really vulnerable in that situation. And then they say that even though the Norwegian law state that you are obligated to do something, not report to the police, but obligated to do something. And, all articles about this law says that in most cases, the best thing would to report it to the police, and no one will hold it against them if they did it. But Watchtowers say, we don't have to tell anyone when the law actually states that they have to do it. Yeah. And that's kind of, they get weird. So I told it before on my channel when I was asked to go. So we're talking about a public bath, and I was asked by my father to walk into the shower and look if there was someone playing with himself in front of the children. And if I saw that, I should go and get my baby brother. So this was a situation where I, 7-year-old, was alone in the male bathroom with other Jehovah's Witnesses and worldly people, because our congregation would always go to bath on Fridays, but my father would not come with his children because he was busy, with elder stuff. But I was asked by my father to walk naked into the shower. So they had a suspicion of a brother, obviously, and look if there was someone playing with his penis in front of the children. And if I saw someone playing with his penis in front of, so this is a naked 7-year-old me, my father telling me what to do when he's not present with grown-ups. I should go and get my baby brother, also naked child, and bring him into the guy that's playing with his penis because, I quote, the elder need 2 witnesses.
Well, we've already established they have no problem with breaking the law.
Goodness.
That's just.
I remember my mother screaming like, if there's a man playing with his penis, you should not go and get your baby brother. 5-year-old, and my father have about his toothbrush. The elder need 2 witnesses. Obviously, he was under a lot of stress. And he admitted, my father admitted to me later that he been dealing with sexual child abuse. So it's probably around this time.
What, was he a victim too, or he was trying to get this guy out?
No, he's not the smartest guy I know. He has 5 intelligent children that we got that from his subservient wife. He's not the smartest guy. He's honest and he do what he think is right. And obviously he enjoyed the power you get in the Watchtower system, because outside that he's a janitor or a salesman, or actually he's an artist. But no. But they really have nothing to do. Riley, did you hear my idea of reporting them, pressing for charges for a violation of the confidentiality?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so I'm the thing is, Watchtower in Norway, where elders in Norway, you go to jail for 6 months if you tell someone something you heard as a priest or as a medical personnel or someone working in a church, So Watchtower claimed that because of this, we should not tell anything. And the police interrogated some elders now and they refused to say anything. However, the paragraph 139 says that you have to try to prevent a crime from happening. So if you're in Norway, it doesn't matter if you're a British citizen or not. If you see a crime and you know about the crime, you have to prevent it from happening. And then they changed this law. They added a small sentence, and that's basically because of things that happen in religion, that this weighs heavier than the law of keeping secrets. So we have one paragraph that kills another paragraph. Basically, if you have information that a crime will occur, and then there's a list of crimes, and that's a crime like everything that connected to terror, threats against the Norwegian safety of our nation, and obviously everything that has to do with sexual crimes against weak people, including rape. And now there's a sister that she went to the elders and accused her husband, Jehovah's husband, of rape and violence. And allegedly, he admitted this to the elders, but he was repentant. And then the elders basically sent her home with a rapist. And she called for press for charges against her husband. So Watchtower now doing damaging control and saying these elders were priests and therefore they are not obligated to say anything. Which is kind of weird.
Asking for help.
Yeah, but my point is now the angle I'm working on, and I'm not a lawyer, I'm a window cleaner, but my angle is that if they claim that we're priests and therefore we have to keep confidentiality, well, do elders keep confidentiality? If you're a young Jehovah's Witness, you're told that you should go to the elders and tell them about your masturbation, but they never tell you that they will tell the other elders that when they ask you what kind of porn you watch, if you watch gay porn, for instance, that's gross porn, then they will make a report and that will be filed and sent to the system. And if a governing body member think it's interesting to read stories about children's masturbation, they can read stories about kids masturbating, So how can they say they don't? And they can't talk to the police because of confidentiality. So I say if they claim that they have confidentiality, then I will press for charges against Watchtower because they tell people.
And I think it would.
Is it a good angle? I think I created a catch-22 here for Watchtower.
Well, it would put pressure on the government at the very least to create a definition for confidentiality. Obviously, what they're doing is not confidential. That's pretty obvious. But because it's a practice, they want to say that's their practice of confidentiality. The religious practice of confidentiality, which is not right. And I think you've got a case to argue against it.
Yeah, but there is no... that's the
there is no confidentiality.
You know, Watchtower, they see the world from a very American perspective. I guess the Holy Spirit was born in America, so that's why. So they kind of argue that, well, they refer to the elders as priests, and like we're like the Catholics. If you tell the Catholic priest, they won't tell anyone. Well, we don't have clergy penalty privilege in Norway. The law specifically states that we don't have it. So the reason why people believe we have it, and kind of Watchtower and Jehovah's Witnesses, I used to be a witness, and we were trained to say, well, we're like the Catholics. Well, the thing is, the reason it's not, the Catholics don't have penalty privilege, it's just a Catholic priest will never go to jail because, you know, basically the two-witness rule. If one person tells a priest, and in Norway, even if both of them would admit the wrongdoing, you will not go to jail because the government still have to prove, give additional evidence. In Scandinavia, it's difficult to be punished for a crime that you admit, because crazy people admit crimes all the time. So even if both the priest and the penitent would admit to the situation, it would probably not be jail time. Only a fine for the priest, the worst case scenario. So Watchtower and Witnesses try to allude that, well, Catholics are allowed to do that. No, they're not allowed to do that. It's just, even if they do, they'll never get caught.
I think because of the way that... Go
ahead. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, I don't think so.
You don't think what?
I don't think we have any equivalent rule in the UK.
No.
I don't think that we have an equivalent rule in the UK, like a penitent privilege or anything like that. I'm not sure.
To be honest, I don't think the penalty privilege for the Catholics is the worst thing, because it's just one person telling another person, you know. And it's not like they're not taking notes, they're not telling other people, it's just one person thinking out loud, basically, and this might do something good for that person. You say your thoughts out loud and you feel better afterwards. I think actually, if you all in all considered, I think the Catholic thing is not a bad thing, because it's so much different from every other religion, especially Jehovah's Witness, that where the elders act as police and take notes and interrogate and make things worse and stuff like that.
They've tried to redefine confidentiality.
Yeah.
And it's not legal.
Yeah. Yeah, so I hope the governing, no, not the governing body, but the two brothers from the Norwegian, the Scandinavian branch is watching, because they always prepare before they go to court. You know, the Bible says they should not prepare before they go to court.
It says whatever you need will be given to you at the time, or something like that. There's a scripture that says that.
Yeah.
Words to that effect.
So if you're watching this, why are you watching this? Why do you don't trust in the Holy Spirit? According to Watchtower, they should, the Bible, they should, the witnesses, if it comes to religion, they should be able to send anybody unprepared to court. And if you don't win it,
will help you through it, right?
Yeah. So if you're a Jehovah's Witness lawyer watching this now, shame on you. You should read the Bible more and have better, stronger faith. Read all the articles and underline and look up all the scriptures and go to court unprepared. So, is there anyone with an electronic calculator that done the numbers we asked for? We asked it because the numbers of anointeds going up and the great crowd is going down. So when will they mathematically cross?
Oh yeah, because I think I missed that part of the video. The growth rate of the
I think it would take less than 50 years, because the numbers are going up pretty. You get the compound interest. I think
right.
50
I
years
think
from now there will be as many
that.
anointed as great crowd. So.
Oh gracious.
So Riley, tell us a story before we end, if no one calls her. Let's unmute him.
You want me to tell you a story? What kind of story?
Well, tell us a dirty story about why you got disfellowshipped.
No, that's the story for another day, maybe. Yeah. Somebody I've done a Q&A video recently, and somebody asked me what was the most worldly thing you did after you got disfellowshipped. And that really made me laugh, because the most worldly thing I did after I got disfellowshipped is really, really, really worldly. But I wasn't comfortable saying what it was. I still not. I might one day.
Okay. What's the most worldly thing you did as a witness?
Oh, goodness me. The most worldly thing I did as a witness. Other than the thing that I got disfellowshipped for, it's probably smoking. I smoked a cigarette once when I was 13. And I couldn't see what the big deal was. I didn't see what all the fuss was about, and I just never did it again.
Well, that's a disfellowshipping offense in God's organization. You know how Watchtower, sometimes the arguments just get weirder and weirder. Like, and a lot of the arguments is like, we don't do what other people do. That's the basis. And then we just have to find a scripture that fits that we don't do what other people do. So, so smoking is bad. I will agree with that. And secondhand smoking is bad. But then they had to, there was a question from the readers that should we use sentence? Sentence, you burn sentence.
Oh, incense.
Incense, incense.
There you go.
Yeah.
Should we burn incense? And they start arguing about, and the Bible is full of incense,
Yeah.
Jesus, they came, and say, happy birthday, here's your incense, and he said, thank you, I'm going to burn it later.
What did they say about that?
Use incense all the time, including in the temple. It says that God loved the smell of burning cow, and his nostrils enjoy incense. And the incense, funny thing about the incense was expensive and came from a foreign country. And no one knew what it was. So the high priest went to a worldly person, bought a bag of weed, and smoked it for Jehovah's nostrils. That's incense. And it's pretty easy to understand that what the people in the Middle East area was smoking when they were talking to God was from India, aka a mix of including marijuana.
Well, they probably had like opium or something in there too, because that used to be a really big trade item.
Yeah, but like if you get a caravan not so far from Israel, you find India, and that's where it come from. So imagine the holy of the holy Israelites. They went to buy incense from a worldly person, and like, what you have? Well, this one makes you feel like a badger. This one make you talk with the universe. This one make you one with God. Well, I'll take this one make me one with God. And then they were smoking that in the temple, and the high priest got visions. But anyway. But when Watchtower, in a question from readers, say, should you use incense? It said that incense is creating secondhand smoke, and secondhand smoke is a violation of Bible principles. Well, in that case, what about the high priest that had to do this burning of incense?
Mm.
So Jehovah, with no nostrils to begin with, was making this poor guy the victim of secondhand smoke. I like that argument when they say we cannot burn incense because incense create a situation where other people get secondhand smoke, and secondhand smoke violate Bible principles. Well, the Bible is full of Levites breathing secondhand smoke all day because Jehovah's nostril wanted that.
Mm.
So my point is, I think you're safe with the cigarette, according to Jehovah. Maybe he even liked the smell. It's good for his nostrils.
I still can't believe they made a rule on incense.
Mm.
Well, I think it's the thing, that we can't do what other people do. We have to be different. So if they do something, we can't do it. Like Mother's Day. Jehovah's Witness can't do Mother's Day. You know what? And they have no explanation for this. It's just what they do, we can't do. In Scandinavia, they actually say that Jehovah's Witnesses can't celebrate Mother's Day because it's American. Which is funny because it's a very American religion.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know. I've always heard the argument that it's creature worship. It's a form of idolatry.
Or it's like or there's religions that worship matrons or something.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like feminine deities or matrons or whatever. I don't know. I've heard that one before too. But I guess they give us different arguments depending on where in the world we are.
Yeah. Definitely.
Because you heard that it was an American thing.
From our point of view, there's a lot of cultural influence coming from America all the time. That's just the way it is. So it's kind of easy to say, enough of this. We have to keep some of our old culture. So it's kind of easy to sell, in any situation, say, well, this is our culture and this is their culture. Sometimes you have to put the foot down. So, but it's fun when witnesses do it because it's like a super American religion.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Heather, what's the biggest sin you did as a witness you never told anyone? If you want to share that.
I don't know. I used to sneak out all the time and go to parties and stuff. It was kind of hard to sneak out because I had the loudest vehicle in the world. But I used to sneak out and go to parties all the time. It wasn't really the big party, music and dancing and all that stuff like you see in the movies. It was just they're having a whole bunch of people over. I don't know. I guess that's the worst thing I did.
Well, it's not too bad.
Getting so drunk, I was I smoked too. I would smoke socially, I think. But one time I was so drunk and I was smoking at the same time that I was eating something out of a bowl, and I was ashing the cigarette into this bowl of food and then eating that food because I was so drunk. I was supposed to be at my math class that night. So that was that was awful. I had to hear all about what I did the next day.
Yeah, that's a bad one, I guess. Being that drunk. I remember, Bethel, I was in Russia and there was so much drinking you can't imagine. And now when I describe, Russian Bethel because I still think it's normal. We worked 6 days a week, and on Sundays we're supposed to preach, and we worked long days unless there was a meeting. So it's basically, we started with prayer. We would pray before breakfast, after breakfast, before dinner, after dinner. We work all day. Then we go to meeting, and then it's 7 days a week, packed with free labor and rules and stuff. And you tell it to other people. They're like, "Oh, it's a cult." They're like, "No, it's Bethel." I still can't connect it back that I was actually abused by this.
Mm-hmm.
But what it said in Russia all the time of Bethel, it's a very well organized organization. They're good, and it's well, this is where you put the laundry on Fridays, and this, and everything. And you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, but you can do whatever you want in your room. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that, but you can do whatever you want. And they were repeating over and over again that you can do whatever you want in the room. And there was like, only way to relax was drinking, and people would drink. And I remember, so the sisters, they were driving, like this cart with cleaning, like in a hotel. They had to have wood, and normally it's like a plastic thing that we just throw napkins and stuff. And they had like a wooden box there. And everyone knew, and we used to joke about it, that they had to have wooden boxes so they could transport all the empty vodka bottles.
Wow.
And I remember, because I was 19 when I was.
There's a lot of drinking at Bethel.
Yeah. So I think there's.
There's a bit of a delay.
Yeah. Anyway, so I was 19 when I was on Bethel. I actually managed to crash Bethel because there was a 20-year. You had to be 20 years older. I came there as a 19. So I was there for a while, and then they kicked me back when they realized they made a mistake. But I used to go long walks because I was young, so I wasn't tired after walking 12 hours, But it was one day I was sick, so I just stayed home with the Finnish brothers I was living with, and we had fever, all of us. So I said, let's go up to the kiosk, and the kiosk in Russia is like this big, small window, and you ask them to buy chocolate and vodka and beer and what they have. And we went, I thought we bought 5 bottles of vodka and 1 bottle of whiskey. And a Russian bottle of vodka, you open it like this. You don't, when you open half a liter of vodka, you're going to drink it. And all of us drank half a liter of vodka in the evening.
Oh, that's too much.
Yeah, I wasn't drunk. I just remember I had a lot of fun. So I was probably drunk. And they always told us when the welcoming committee, when they showed us Bethel, this is and they showed the room, this is the shower, and it's very well organized. And they say, in every situation, they said, don't put bottles in the trash, put it by the trash. And I couldn't understand why they always emphasize that. But when you look at the trash was like, after that evening, me and the Finnish brother, was like 1 piece of chocolate. The chocolate paper was in the trash, and then 6 empty booze bottles by it. So you could empty the trash once a month, but remove the bottles like on a daily basis.
Wow.
That is some heavy drinking.
Yeah. Wow. But as long as you kept it, you can do what you want in your room. So you smuggle the vodka. You learn to see people carrying bags, and you can see the bag. It doesn't say vodka on outside on it, but you can see it's heavy, so you know it. You never have the sound of glass bottles like cling, cling, cling. That was a big no. But as long as you kept it covered and carried it into your room, everything was okay. And a friend of mine, he got so drunk that he lost all control. He fell on the ground, peed himself, and shot himself. And another friend of mine, Norwegian brother, he removed his clothes, cleaned him, and then, remember the rule, everything happened in the room is okay. So he took one clothing at a time, back and forth, because you have, the appearance of evil should not be there. So he took, 1 pair of clothes at a time, cleaned him, and put him to bed. And it was kind of okay.
That's crazy. That is so crazy. I'm gonna have to go now.
It's true Christian to clean a drunk brother that way.
It does not sound pleasant.
Yeah, it was.
I imagine that happens a lot though, where they have to drag somebody out of a hallway or something.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna have to go.
See ya.
Yeah. Thanks for calling in.
Ya. Thank you. See ya.
So, no, Donnyboy73 asked No McCallans. Well, Scandinavians do drink kind of a lot. Russians drink more, but in Scandinavia we have this system that, well, at least in the northern countries in Scandinavia, that you go to a government-owned shop and buy alcohol, and it's expensive, but they have very good. They know what they're talking about. There are like 2,000 brands to choose between, but it's kind of controlled. It's expensive. So you can't buy booze at the petrol station, stuff like that. So Scandinavians are used to alcohol. It's kind of, it's like a celebration. I go to the government-owned store, I buy myself a bottle of vodka, and then we have a party, and it's a celebration, and it's expensive, so we don't do it that often. But the downfall with that system, it's a good system, but when they go to Russia, and you can buy half a liter vodka at the kiosk for $1, they just drink all the time.
Wow.
Because, we can afford it.
That's cheap. Well, I guess, a friend of mine from Russia said they even have like little juice boxes. Like, you have the little apple juice boxes. Yeah. They have like little juice boxes with vodka. And that's like a normal thing for them. Like, it's just a thing.
Well, I used to drink vodka when I drank. I stopped drinking alcohol when I left the cult after a while. When I realized that Jehovah's Witnesses they use their religion as an addiction. And when I read up about addictions, and when I realized that Jehovah's Witnesses treat their religion as an addiction, because a person that's addicted, he will always say, I love my family more than the addiction, but their actions will show that they love the addiction more than the family.
That's interesting. I never...
Yeah. And when I put those two dots together, that the religion is an addiction, I got this absolute hatred for alcohol. I never drank anything since that moment. Stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm never going to treat anyone like my family treated me because of an addiction. I hate alcohol now. I used to drink vodka, actually. Well, I'm not like a heavy drinker, but I used to enjoy vodka. It's a good drink if it's traditional culture and with the right food and herring and snaps and all this. So it's a big part of being Scandinavian. So, but I stopped drinking everything when I realized the addiction part of being a Jehovah's Witness. So
I should probably look at that now.
Oh, it's actually a good thing. But so was one thing I wanted to say. What was it? It was you remember Anthony Morris when he bought alcohol? There's one thing that no one ever commented. If there's a Bethelite, he can, especially if the Scandinavian Bethelite, he can, what do you say in English? Concur with me, because there's a lot of unwritten rules. So on Bethel, they tell you that you should not go to the closest liquor store, because the problem is that since all the Bethelites have the same schedule and dress the same way, then it will be like, okay, this is Jehovah night at this liquor store when all the Bethelites drink at the same time. So Bethelites are told to not go to the local liquor store. So then they have to go kind of far away and not and do a booze run. But then it's the thing, then you get the same thing, like, okay, Friday evening is the Jehovah's Witness night where they buy a lot. So then they come up with a rule that if you do a booze run, you drive far away to a liquor store, you should not buy more than you can carry once to the car. Because they don't want people to see that, okay, this is Jehovah's Witnesses on Friday evening and they come and fill up the car. So you can go for a booze run and then you fill up the car once. And then you should drive to a new liquor store. And then everything should be wrapped and you keep it in your trunk and so on. And now, if you apply these rules, and I assume they have kind of the same in the United States of America, and on our friend Anthony Morris, what did he do? He did a booze run, but he did not put it in his trunk. He went to the liquor store, bought like as much as you can carry once, took it to the car, but there was something else in the trunk. And the rule is that if you go for a booze run, you can take as much as you can carry, like normal 2 bags, and then put it in your trunk, and then go to the next and put it in the trunk. And I think it wasn't the first store. According to my...
He's already filled the trunk.
Yeah, because when you do a boost run, you can only carry out from one shop, like the maximum you can carry.
That's
if you do more than that, you have to go to a new shop and then put it in the trunks, and no one sees it. But his trunk was full. If it was full of Jehovah's Witness literature, it would be very easy to put that front, so everyone can see, oh, this is a very, very serious Christian person with a lot of literature. So my guess is, which makes perfectly sense from a Bethelite perspective, is that he went to one place, bought alcohol for sale, and then he went to another place, bought alcohol, filled up, and this bottle king had sale on Macallan. So maybe he just went and bought everything was for sale on this place, everything was for sale on this place, and filled up the car.
That's nuts.
Or maybe he didn't drink Macallan, I don't know, but he did obey. I think he obeyed the Bethel rules, because it's easy when you live in that system.
Because he was so far away.
It like you get away with murder as long as you clean your hands up to the elbows. It's it's very pharisaical when you're in Bethel.
Well, it's pretty bad that they actually have like a procedure for buying alcohol. Like, it's so prevalent there that there's a whole procedure and rules for it.
Yeah, but imagine, if you were like the guy in charge of Bethel in Norway. So it's a rural Norway, and there's one government-owned liquor store. And Bethelites work all weekend, and I guess like Saturday evening or Friday evening or something like that, or all of them end up in that liquor store, like, hello, 100 Bethelites buying their booze. That's a bad witness. And they say you have to spread it out.
Mm-hmm.
But that means they will instead end up the same place. So they say, try to spread it out as much as possible, but don't buy more that you can carry out of the store, because they will start recognize this is the people that come and fill up the car. So,
what they need to do is they send a runner. They get everybody's order and they send a runner, and this guy goes out and just loads up.
Yeah, that's what they do. But when I was on Bethel in Norway, I never been a Bethelite, but I worked a lot in Bethel as a construction worker. And from every closet in Bethel, you could hear this bloop, 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 bloop.
What are they brewing?
Yeah, every closet.
Oh. Well,
everyone brewing in the closet alcohol.
That's funny.
And so there was a brother in Norwegian Bethel. He gave me some bottles of homemade beer. It was very good. And we were eating there, and the sister who was cleaning the room, she was having what you call a snack or something, at 11 we were allowed to sit down and have a snack. And the cleaning sister used to be sitting down with us. And she said that every room on the whole Bethel, she could hear a bloop bloop from the closet. Every room. So everyone makes their own alcohol. And I remember I was working in the carpentry, and one of the high shots, a friend of mine, is a nice guy, but he came and he started, shipping off pieces of the Watchtower oak, because they have some oak tree, to make furniture off and stuff like that. So he chopped off some pieces of that. He gonna put in his wine to get a aged taste.
Yeah, these guys are like chemists up there in Bethel, but they're chemists for the weekend.
Yeah, and also, according to several of my friends, the circuit overseer, he's a friend of mine too. Well, not the current circuit overseer, but he actually used to work for me as a window cleaner. But allegedly, from several of my friends, told that he was, before he was circuit overseer, but he was a Jehovah's Witness in good standing, he would make moonshine. And that's actually a crime, to make alcohol stronger than 21%. So he was making moonshine.
cool.
Yeah, the Jehovah's Witnesses have this drinking thing. As long as you keep it inside your room, inside your closet, and no one care. And I remember I went to there was this the convention hall in Strängnäs. It's the biggest one the Watchtower ever owned. We could be 8,000, but before Watchtower bought it, it was So everyone in Sweden, everyone has a sauna, So there was a sauna in the convention hall actually. So I used to go there during convention to the sauna. And that's okay. So we put up a suit because I worked there, and there were always conventions. So I was not an attendee at the convention. I was a working guy, and it was my weekend off. So you put up a suit. You would put a 6-pack in a thing and put a towel on top, and then go to the sauna through the convention hall, and you would mingle with people. And sometimes some new recruit would come and say, "Oh, you were baptized today too," because they saw the towel.
Yeah.
It's really easy when someone being in a sauna because your whole face get red when you sit there in a sauna. And I remember, the high shots, like the highest you can get in the organization in Scandinavia, like the highest, those guys. They were standing there and they looked at me, and I looked down at my obvious 6-pack under a towel in the convention hall, and they looked away. Because that's according to the rules, Alcohol, covered with a towel. Everyone pretends we don't know what's happening. 3 guys standing a little bit drunk in the convention with red faces because we've been in a sauna, and we're carrying towels with a 6-pack under. They looked at us, they looked at 6-pack, didn't care at all. Because Bethel...
Probably the convention goers had no idea.
No. You have to do all the formalistic thing. It's a very Pharisaical religion. So we actually put on a suit on our way to a sauna. You really don't need, but you put on a suit because we have to walk through the convention hall to get to the sauna.
Yeah.
So you put on a suit. You have your 6-pack, a towel on top, and you go to the sauna. And then, so we were sitting in the sauna during the program, drinking beer. And then when the program ended, we would put on the suit again, go back, flirt with the sisters for 1 hour, then go back to the sauna, drinking beer. And it was obvious for those that worked in the system and the Bethel people, and even the most high ranking, they just looked at us and okay, it's according to the rules. And then you get away with it.
They made a loophole for you. You got to give them the credit.
Yeah. So I actually been drunk at the convention with Watchtowers. Well, not drunk. I wasn't like that kind of person, but you drink. If you drink 2 or 3 beers in a sauna, you get a little tipsy, even if you're a big guy.
Actually, had a dream one time. It was recent that my parents somehow kidnapped me and forced me to go to the convention with them at some arena somewhere. But then when we got there, I broke out my lunchbox and just passed out Crown to everybody in the family. Crown Royal, the whiskey.
It was a dream.
It was a dream. I'm like, if that would... I almost want to go to a convention just to try breaking out a bottle of Crown and passing it around to see how many people take it.
Yeah. In Denmark, they used to have beer at the conventions.
Did they?
Yeah, so you go to a convention and, obviously they would serve food at the convention like they used to do.
Yeah, they used to.
Food, and you couldn't bring your own. It's like a cinema because they wanted the money. So you have to buy candy from Watchtower and stuff like that. But in Denmark, they would actually give you beer at the convention until one of these stupid Americans came and said, that's not how Jehovah's Witnesses do it. And they had to stop it. But actually, then they always had beer at the conventions. That's cool.
Awesome. Well, I need to find a way into a convention so I can try passing out some little solo cups of Crown.
Yeah.
Mouthwash cups of Crown.
I remember when we were protesting outside the convention, and there was this journalist that came from Sweden to talk with us. And so she was calling me, how can I meet you? I said, just go through the convention hall. So you come to us. It was an international convention. I think it was 25,000, something like that. So she was a nice little worldly woman, and she had a skirt, a mini skirt. So she actually looked like someone that should be recruited, like she made the extra effort to put on a skirt, but since she's worldly, she didn't know how long it should be. So I went out waiting for her, and I waited and waited. And then there was this Danish brother with sitting on the lawn, with his bicycle and 2 chairs, and he was drinking from his thermos. So after I could sit down with him, and he was obviously, I think, drinking beer because his thermos, there was no steam coming up. So drinking beer from his thermos. Sitting there waiting. So I asked, could I sit with you? So I sat with him. It was so much fun protesting there because I was giving hugs to the attendants, I'm a people's person. So we got to call in, I talked to the witnesses, we took pictures together, I hugged the attendants. Anyway, so I was sitting with him and he was drinking his coffee, and then I got a message from her that I can't walk through the convention hall because everyone's trying to recruit me.
Oh, gracious.
Yeah, because it was a young girl with a skirt, and she looked like she came there on purpose, like the typical recruitment person. So eventually she came out and talked to me, and we were talking about apostasy, blah, 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 blah. For like a long time, she was making interviews. And then she pointed at him and said, is he with you? And I forgot about it. So we had the whole apostate experience with him sitting next to me. He got to hear everything. 30 minutes.
And he didn't move?
Huh?
He didn't move?
He didn't move. He just sitting there with his beer listening.
Well, he's probably like,
So when she said, is he with you? I was like, oh, I forgot about him. I said, no, he's one of the good guys. And he smiled like, nah, I like the witnesses. I have so much fun with them. So we went, and she wanted to interview. I said, you should talk to Stephen Lett because he's here. So we went back and I talked to attendants and I said, hello, I'm an apostate, but she's a journalist and she would like to interview with Stephen Lett. And she came in. Obviously, she was not allowed to interview Stephen Lett, but then she came back to us and told us what happened. And they told her that you're allowed to film the Jehovah's Witnesses, but you're not allowed to talk with them.
Well, what's a journalist to do?
Yeah, but how can you say that unless you see these people as your slaves? I can tell you that you're not allowed to talk to my goats, but I cannot tell you that you're not allowed to talk to my wife because she's an independent person.
Exactly.
And they actually told her, it's kind of fun because of the mindset, that was the media people, the public relations people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of fun to see that they actually believe in the religion, because otherwise he would never tell that to a journalist with the camera running, that you can film the Jehovah's Witnesses. We're talking about outside the convention, public land. You can film them, but you're not allowed to talk with them. And that's the PR people. So, they believe it, and they believe that it's a controlling religion. So they told her you cannot talk to them, and that makes sense. If I, in the bad old days, if I were a slave owner, I could tell you can't talk to my slaves now. You need my permission to talk to the slaves. But you can't say that about
all kinds of red flags.
Yeah, she was like, I talk to anyone I want. But she was this little cute girl kind of woman, and the elders are elders, and they are trained by Jehovah, and well, this is the way. And sorry, Stephen Lett, I don't know what they said, but probably Stephen Lett he's busy right now. If you would have been here 15 minutes earlier, we would have interviewed. But you can film the witnesses, but you're not allowed to talk to them.
What are they afraid of the people? Are they afraid of the people
No, they are afraid of not having control,
But it probably looks worse by saying don't talk to them than, anything dumb that the witnesses could say.
Yeah.
I think.
Of course. But, when you're in a cult, you don't realize you're in a cult. It's normal.
You don't realize how crazy you sound.
No. So you say things that you sounds really, they would think it's reasonable. You're allowed to film our slaves, but you're not allowed to talk to them.
Do they know they're not allowed to talk to her?
No, of course
I'm just wondering.
No, of course not. But inside the convention, I don't know, witnesses don't want to talk to journalists normally outside convention because they know they will be criticized for doing that. Normally they avoid, we're told that we should not talk to media when we're witnesses. If a media representative come, we should tell them to go to the Watchtower PR department, and then they will handpick someone to be interviewed.
Yeah, it's.
But you know, 25,000, you always find someone that want to be interviewed, and they did. And TV was interviewing me outside the convention, and it's kind of fun. They were talking about the Jehovah's Witnesses, and then they said, however, not invited to the party, and then they went to picture from inside the convention to the apostates who were standing there, and then it said Jonas Gustafsson, window cleaner.
So if somebody were to use the argument that not being allowed to speak to anybody sounds secretive, and they were to say that in the news, because if you try to talk to somebody, if you call Bethel, or if you try, like I've tried calling elders before, they won't talk to you without knowing exactly who you are and what congregation you're with, if you're with the congregation. So if they have like a news media person come off and be like, this is a secretive group. Yep, this is a secretive group. They don't want anything filmed. They don't want anybody to know what's going on unless you're actually present there. Like, you're not allowed to talk to anybody if you plan. Yeah, it sounds secretive to me.
Yeah, but the journalists already know it's secretive. But they don't give as good impression as they themselves think when they say stuff like that. That you're not allowed to talk with them. We're talking about 25,000 grown-ups in a democratic country, and moving over outside the venue. It's public ground. And you're not allowed to talk to them. They're telling her, what if I would tell you that you're not allowed to talk to Mexicans or Republicans or Democrats? I can't tell you who you're allowed to talk to or not. Both for your rights and their rights,
Exactly.
It's ridiculous that they tell her what she's allowed to do and what she's not allowed to do.
I mean, it's like you're either invited to the party or you're not. There's no like, you can come in, but you're not allowed to like do anything that anybody else is allowed to do.
Yeah. Nah, it was fun. I missed the protest. It was fun. And there was, since I focus on human rights and not about the witnesses, I don't protest against the witnesses. I protest pro the witnesses. And I say this to the witnesses, so half of them don't realize I'm an apostate, so they try to recruit me. But I tell them I'm an apostate because I don't want to be deceitful. But there came some worldly people to be at the protest. And they say, how do we find the convention? It's really easy. Just follow the cult members. How can I see who are they? It's pretty easy. Even if you've never been a Jehovah's Witness, you go to the railroad station and they're like, that's them.
Yeah, there's no knees. There's always the slacks, especially the cream-colored slacks. What is it? The tops. They don't have like the exposed tops. So you just look at the group where none of the women have knees.
Yeah, but then Watchtower picked them up with buses. Now, anyway, so those activists, they actually hitch a ride with the witnesses. So the witnesses, you're going to the convention. Yes, I'm going to the convention. You can sit with me. You can sit with me. I show you the Bible, and they jump off, and then they go to the apostates. And
right on by them.
Yeah, no, it's kind of fun. We had a lot of fun, but I'm pretty sure a lot of the Danish brothers sitting there and drinking from their thermoses, they were drinking beer, sitting during the convention.
Well, that was the trick when I worked in restaurants. It's that you put your wine in a coffee cup, because there were some places you could drink wine after all your tables were done. but you had to drink it out of a coffee cup, so it looked like you were just, working and, being proactive about keeping your energy up or something. I don't know. You had to drink your wine out of a coffee cup when you were done with all your tables.
Yeah, I don't know if Watchtower have a rule for that. You know why I believe that? So Anthony Morris, if you have a drinking problem, that I feel sorry for him. So
I think he's got PTSD.
Well, that's obvious, and I feel sorry for him. But the reason why I think he has a drinking problem, which technically is none of my business, but since I grew up a witness, I'm very gossipy, and it was the annual meeting. They said. Garrett Lesh, and they said between the speeches, like, there's no alcohol behind here. They were denying things that no one asked about. Anthony Morris gave a speech and he was slurring a little, but witnesses with no critical thinking skills don't notice that, and he's an old man, But then someone else gave a speech that, are you sober? Like a typical Jehovah's Witness rhetorical question. Are you sober? Ho, 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 ho. Well, sober according to dictionary, blah, blah, blah. So everything is kind of normal until that point. But then Garrett Lesh and the others say, well, when he said sober, obviously he meant sober because there's no alcohol to find here. Denying it a little bit too much.
They probably dog each other a lot behind the scenes, but they're all probably drunk too.
Yeah, well, you can always find, this is interesting. Stop me if I told these stories before, because it's difficult for me to remember. And it's late in Norway. So, but a cult will often carry the personality of its founder. Yeah, and the Jehovah's Witness religion was created by first Russell, who was a rich man that really didn't know how to handle money and religion, the combination. He basically lost everything, but he started this MLM printing company that Rutherford took further. Rutherford was probably a heavy drinker. He said, we have all these rules, but drinking is okay because I do it, so you can do it, and Jesus did it. So you have this weird system with multi-level marketing printing company where all this rule and all this control, but alcohol is okay. And if you see other cults, my favorite example is actually the Amish. You know who created the Amish? You know what was his profession?
No.
A tailor. Tailor that makes clothes?
Yeah.
Yeah, and do they look weird because they make their own clothes?
A little bit.
You can't go to heaven. You can't go to heaven if you have 4 buttons, but you can have 3 buttons. You can't go to heaven if it looks like this, but if it's like this. Their religion is very much based on, like, really in detail how to put a button and how to put a collar, and this is too long and this is too short. And the religion started out, as many religions do, they started to baptize grown-ups and reading the Bible in a different language than Latin. And they had all these problems with that they were really persecuted for being baptized a second time. And they were often executed by drowning, like a big fuck you, like, now you're getting baptized a 3rd time since you enjoy baptism so much. They were really, really persecuted. And then they got this opportunity to move to France on one condition: don't preach. And they say, well, persecution or not preach is okay. So that's why the religion said, we don't preach. And then they moved on to America and they died out in Europe. So that's why you have this Christian religion that do not preach, because they had to change their doctrine to not preach in order to be able to move to France and not being persecuted. They came from Switzerland. But then this guy who gave them the name Amish, he was a tailor and was focusing very much on 3 buttons is pride. No, 4 buttons is pride, 3 buttons is not, and then all these different rules, but very specific clothing. So you identify so even back then they started looking weird. You could see that these are Amish. And now they have all these rules. Actually, every Amish in America have different rules. So you were very easy to point out one Amish family from another. because they're like, they go to hell because they have 5 buttons. They go to hell because they have the wrong bonnet.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
But the personality of the founder goes in it, because the founder was a tailor, the shoot-off from France. And then the funny thing is, the whole religion started with them reading the Bible in their mother tongue instead of Latin. But then they brought these German Bibles to America. And today, all these people are reading the Bible in German, which they don't speak. They will interact with other English, Americans in English as their second language. The language they speak at home is Pennsylvania Dutch or Old Swiss dialect. But when they read the Bible, they read it in a Low German. So they're actually back to square one. They could as well read it in Latin. They read the Bible in a language they don't speak. And you will be disfellowshipped for reading the Bible in English, which they would understand, because reading the Bible in English will lead you away from the faith. Because then you will realize the Bible is not about buttons and colors and bonnets.
I see a lot of parallels, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate when you talk about religion and a cult, and someone will always say like, "Oh, I've seen the Amish and it seems so wonderful. It's so wonderful." Actually, imagine growing up Amish. What alternatives do you have? You have homeschooling. It's not like, oh, I put on these clothes because I enjoy it. No, there's no choice. If you have 4 buttons, if you're in a group that define 4 buttons to be too many, you will be disfellowshipped for having 4 buttons. It's not a beautiful thing. Like, oh, it's such a beautiful. People have a romantic idea of growing up in a cult is such a wonderful thing. I think someone's freezing. So it's getting later, anyone. Similar to the Huderites we have here. Anyone wants to call in? Subtítulos en español. Sé hablar español, pero no voy a ayudarte con eso. Hasta cuarto. So, I know nothing about the Amish, LOL, sober in spirits, public. Jonas, it's like any big company with a lubic profile, control of media. Yep. Muy bien, yay. See, I've been thinking about making videos in Spanish because Spanish is really easy. So, and I speak Spanish. Also speak Russian, but I don't speak good enough for YouTube. So, I guess we don't know when there will be 144,000 anointed on Earth, but I guess it will be soon. So, Heather doesn't rant now, she'll run away. She has a YouTube channel called Have a Rant. I used to watch that. So, I watch it sometimes. So, no, I'm getting tired, and I can help you with the Spanish videos. And that would be good, Ephraim. So, thinking about getting, investing in the channel, getting, what do you call it? When they read the news, teleprompter. Because I can speak English freely, and I can do the same with Spanish, but I need to practice. So having a teleprompter, then I could actually speak quite good. I would giving speech every week in Spanish when I was in the Spanish group. So me speaking Russian, that would be an insult to Russians, because I don't really get the pronunciation good enough, and it's a really difficult language. So no one calling in. So then I just take the night off and go and hug my wife instead. So thanks for watching, and thanks for supporting my channel, and see you in paradise.